I've been healthy my whole life, yes, and that's why this cancer thing really threw me for a loop. I did not expect that.
It was a scary time. My mother died of cancer, so I knew what that could mean. Pretty traumatic. And
I had no family history of breast cancer, so I just didn't even fret about it a bit. And then I got the phone call that said it's malignant. And so it was pretty, it was scary. And I really didn't know much about breast cancer. Nobody around me had breast cancer. I just didn't have any experience with it. So where did I go but online? And then immediately you read all these horror stories and stuff, and so I got pretty scared about it. My first thought, before even knowing really what kind of cancer I had, what the prognosis was or anything, immediately I thought, oh my goodness, I don't want to lose my hair. And right along with it was, I sure hope I don't have to have a mastectomy. So when I found out that I would need to have a mastectomy, I was distressed about that. I was embarrassed about it. I didn't want anybody to know. I did have a mastectomy, and due to complications, I was unable to be reconstructed immediately, and so then had to figure out, what do I do now? I needed to get back to work, and I thought, what am I going to do? I need to wear something. I called a local cancer society and said I needed to have something to wear so I can go back to work, that I just had surgery. And I'll never forget what she said to me. She said, oh honey, she says, I'm sorry, you won't be able to put anything on that scar for at least 6 weeks. That was honestly, the lowest point of the whole thing for me. That's the first time I cried out of the whole time. Later that week, I went into the doctor. While I was in the waiting room, I picked up a brochure, and this brochure was for a camisole that you could put a silicone prosthetic in. And he comes in and he sees that brochure in my hands, and he says, you know, most women are not happy with that as a solution.
Women are tender after surgery, and tender for weeks, and anything heavy or pressure on themselves is uncomfortable.
Some choose to just use a prosthesis, but those can be heavy, they're plastic, they sweat, and they're itchy.
I didn't ask that. He says most women are not too satisfied with that as a solution. I was like, well, what am I going to do? And he says, well, do you knit? Yeah. And that's where he said, I don't have one to give you, but I got a picture. And so that's where this all started.
Oh.
Yeah. And he brings out this 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper with a color picture of a knitted knocker. And it's a wonderful alternative to a breast prosthetic that's handmade. And I just was like floored. I grabbed that sheet, and he says, you can't have the sheet of paper, but on there is a website where I'm told you can go and you can get the pattern. And so I was like, yes, because I can use that right away. I don't have to wait 6 weeks. So I went home with that, and I called my dear friend. Even though I'm a knitter, I wasn't in any shape, and having moved, I didn't know where my knitting needles were. I called my dear friend Phyllis, and I said, Phyllis, I'm not asking you to actually make one for me, but I was wondering if you could help me with the pattern. And she said, I will make one for you. And she said, I'll bring it to church this Sunday. Well, that Sunday, I went to church, and I wore this loose-fitting jacket over my shirt, and I just stuffed something in this old bra, and was very self-conscious going to church. So Phyllis found my husband. Denny found me, and he gave him to me. He says, this is from Phyllis. So I immediately took him into the bathroom and took one of those out, and I stuffed it in my bra, and it was perfect. It was perfect. It was light, it was soft, it was pretty, and it worked in my bra wonderfully. I took off the jacket, and I went out, and I just felt normal. It was just wonderful. It just changed everything. And so at that point, I knew that These doctors' offices needed to have these to give to women, not just a picture. They needed to have these to give to them, and so that became my mission and my purpose. That was my purpose from that point forward, was to make sure that these knitted knockers would be available to any woman that needs them.
They want to go out in public and they want to feel pretty, and it just helps them at an ugly part of their lives, just go out and feel pretty again. And it really feels good to be part of that.
So when I went looking for the information to make a knitted knocker, lo and behold, the first thing I found was that the website that I was sent to was defunct. So we had to dig a little deeper to find that information, and in doing so, we found that it was pretty fragmented. There's no one-stop place to find out everything that you would need to know about knitted knockers, and so I thought, boy, that's what we need. We need something that will pull together all these groups. That was the mission that I went on, was to provide that. So knittedknockers.org, the purpose of that is to connect these knitters with breast cancer survivors to offer free knitted knockers. The vision is big. The vision is huge. There's all these knitting groups around the country. My vision is to enable each of these groups to provide for their own community.
You know, I'm a knitter. I mean, I've been knitting since I was 5. And I always have knitting in my hand. So I have been knitting knockers for 2 years.
So no one group has to create 50,000 of them, but if there's 1,000 knitting groups that need to come up with 50 a year, that's doable.
I've probably knit over 200 of them.
The most important thing is that it's soft and it can fit right into a regular bra. You don't have to have anything special, because the specialized things are so expensive and you don't know if you want to spend that much money on something that may not fit or may not be workable.
I think it fills a need that has been out there for women. That I haven't never heard of these before till Barb introduced them to our office, and so it's exciting and it's helpful.
Barbara has been generous enough to supply this office, along with many other offices, with these knitted knockers available free to patients.
They'll bring in the box and they'll go prowling through it, and they'll be real cautious at first, and then they're like, ooh, I like that yellow one.
I'll have something that looks like this and something that looks like this, and I never know what people are going to pick.
And you're like, okay, you can have it, and then they're almost like, really? I can have it? And you're like, yeah.
Dear knitters and volunteers, I love the knitted knocker you so generously sent me. It is perfect.
Some people pick this.
But I found the perfect one for me.
Some people will pick this, with this fuzzy...
It is a hairy, bright orange with colorful specks on it.
You just never know.
They are amazed at the beauty and cleverness of the creation. And of course, the name.
Because you tell them I have some knitted knockers, and they look at you like, uh-huh.
From the bottom of my heart and knocker.
And then it comes together once you bring them in and you show it to them.
Thank you so much for knitting these for us breast cancer survivors.
And then they're excited. They really are. It's really an exciting process.
You know what? It just makes life so much more beautiful. We're a yarn shop. We're sticks and needles and yarn. I mean, there's so much we can do, and there's so much possibility.
The stories that I hear through Barb of how much people love them, it's amazing. It just feels good.
It gives me great joy to provide these to other women, because I know what it meant to me.
But Barb, I think, one thing that you won't say about yourself, I think one of the amazing things about it is how you took a horrible situation. I watched you through that whole time period, and I mean, from the surgery to where you are now, and just thinking of others and the mission of what you're doing for others, it's just beautiful to see.
Barb is the most upbeat, most wonderful woman. She has powered through this really well and made it available for other women. I mean, she's always happy, and she's always encouraging, and she's just a great lady.
She just took this idea and just took off with it. And I'm just so impressed with her drive, not just for her. It's not her that she's caring for. She's caring for everybody else.
Well, I tell you, it was a blessing for me, because it took me out of my funk.
Yeah.
Just being able to have a purpose and something to look out at for others rather than all about me. And there is my hero doctor right there, Dr. Kaufman. Oh my gosh,
Yes, thank you for doctor, that good-looking man was.
I told this story of, yeah, come over here.
I just wanted to support you.
Oh my gosh, you have supported me tremendously. Oh my gosh.
Well, I just wanted to support you because it's just, it's remarkable what dynamic, what you were saying, and what a dynamic person she is, and that she took this idea and has supported so many hundreds of other people. And you know, it's very, as you can all imagine, it's very traumatic. But patients are so thankful that someone cared enough to spend, you know, it takes a long time to make one of these things. I mean, I couldn't do it. There's a lot of stitches in there. And for someone to take that much time over and over and over to donate to women that they don't know, the women that receives it really feels that connection. You know, first of all, before they see it, they love the name, and then when they see it, they say, "Well, this is such a good idea." It's just great. There's some knitters out there, and there's some non-knitters, but everybody really appreciates it. So I want to thank you for really spearheading this. And so,
Well, I thank you for accepting them.
We just feel like we can do this and we can make a difference.
they're so touched that it's free, that someone did it for them, that someone's thinking about them. You know, it's so personal, so touching.
They just pour their heart and their soul into making these, and that's priceless.